The power of agents comes from being able to customize that agent and make it your own, or make them operate in a similar way to your preferred ways of working. The same format, the same structure, the same layout, the same process. The more you can align it to the way you work, the less edits you have to make, the less oversight you have to have on that particular agent. Let's take a look at customizing your agent. Now, last time we connected in a video, we set up our first agent. That agent was named Meeting Prep Agent. That helped us really get ready for the day. It was able to analyze our calendar, look for past meetings, chat channels, documents, emails, in order to be able to find details that I might need to prep me before my upcoming meeting. And then we also created automation around this particular step as well. So by activating our automation, we were able to schedule this agent to run automatically at 7 o'clock every day and make it all of that data available to me as I was logging in the morning. Today, we want to now focus on the customization process of an agent. And we do that by enabling tools. So down here, you can see inside of the Zoom products, there are a lot of different Zoom products. And you can give access to these Zoom products in many different ways within inside of an agent. So here is just an example. For Zoom meetings, we have the ability to write and delete tools, right? So if you want to delete a meeting or create a meeting, as well as these read-only tools, like maybe get meeting summary as an example. Now, in this case, we can get the meeting summary. Now we can allow this agent to always be able to access this, or I can enforce a human in the loop by having needs approval listed there. So in this case, we're updating the permission to make the agent have to ask me for permission to go in and get access to my meeting summaries. So it's entirely up to how you want to handle it. Some things you might warrant the need. So maybe, for example, if you want to auto log something in Salesforce, you might prefer to review that note before, or maybe a customer email that you send to them. As I mentioned, you can do this with several different Zoom tools as well as external tools outside in the marketplace. So here you can see if I wanted to connect with something like SharePoint, I can allow access. And again, I can configure whether or not the agent needs approval to be able to access that data first, or just to be able to allow it, or to simply block it. I don't want the agent to be able to access. The general guidance is to limit the tools and the skills and the knowledge that an agent has to really just accomplish its role. The more you give it access to, the more flexibility you give it, and as a result of it, you get more varying outputs. Now, in this case, you can see this is a good example. I might not use Slack, or maybe I've now started using Slack. I can connect my agent to Slack by just simply clicking in this section to click Connect. And then I would have to log in to my Slack account from the Zoom Marketplace in order to be able to grant access. So I'd have to type in the Slack page that we log into, and then also my username and password in order to authorize access into this data. Right? So the system doesn't have access to anything you don't want it to have access to. Now, each of these applications would have to be enabled and added from an administrative perspective to be able to access. And there's many different applications. There are applications at the top that are already added and configured from the administration perspective, and then some also additional applications that can be added, and even custom applications where maybe we've created a unique application on our marketplace and in order to allow a connection into an API or an MCP connection. Now, I do have the ability as well with tools to add an MCP right here inside of the system. So in the event that you want to connect to a third-party vendor's MCP server, you can do that simply just by adding the information right in there. And then it'll show up as a custom connection, and then you can configure that custom connection on the back end once it's loaded. Now, in addition to tools, you can set up skills. Now, I like skills, and I think of skills as standard operating procedures that we can give to an agent to ensure that it generates a quality outcome, right? So there are many built-in skills that you might see here from the company that you work under, and you can just leverage those skills anytime. You can filter these skills by categories. So if you want to look down at skills that are more associated to sales, for example, or marketing, you can see those. You can upload a skill if you created that .md file elsewhere. You can write a skill instruction. So in this case, you would explain it all out exactly what you want, or you could just describe in your own idea what you'd like this skill to be able to do. So in this case, we want to train the particular agent when we use this skill that every single time we use this skill, we want the meeting prep document or overview to look at action items in a very specific way. So in this case, I said, I always want you to look at action items and look for three things. Who is doing what and by when, right? So who, what, and when. And if an action item doesn't have all three of these items, I want the system, the agent, to automatically call that out to help me recognize. Because if I'm missing one of those key traits of an action item, the likelihood that it gets done is pretty limited, right? If we don't have a clear idea of what we're doing, or we don't know who owns it, or we don't have a delivery date for that particular action item, we're unlikely going to be able to successfully do that. And this now is able to identify. So what I understand so far, we want to create the skill. There's a couple clarifying questions here. So the ability of the agent to interact with us and ask questions, and we can provide additional information in order for it to build the particular skill. So source of the content, this is a meeting source. Yes, let's to number one. Yes, this is mostly from meetings, but could be action items from chat, email, or phone calls. And then number two is the full document structure beyond the action items. What other sections would you prep or overview? Focus this skill only on the action items. I will have other skills for the rest of the document. And of course, a skill can be very advanced. In this case, it's a very simple format. Caution flag, should the incomplete flag look like this? Yes. The action item incomplete caution icon looks great. And number four is action item source. Should the skill extract action items from the transcript summary, or are you providing action items? We want them to, skill should extract the action items itself. Right, very good. So once we provide this information, it'll have what it needs in order to be able to build this particular skill. And then we'll add this skill to the agent we created in the last video. So in this case, once we have all the information in there and the agent is able to go through its logical process of building out and documenting the skill, we'll be able to see it inside of the system once we look at skills. Right? And it looks like it is close to being done. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so it's setting the skill name to extract action items. So I think it's a great name. I could have given it the name that I wanted it to be able to have it added as, but in this case, because I didn't give it, it just named it. I can easily continue prompting with the agent to be able to make any changes that I want. So if I didn't like the name, I can easily just say rename it to whatever I'd like. As it's going through, it's building out the skill profile, the capabilities of the setup, the skill in itself. And again, I can configure all this information on the back end. For the sake of time, we're just going to accept it. And now we can see in the skills created by me our extract action items right here. And again, I can edit it, I can download it and share it with others, or I have the ability to replace it or delete it here. I can turn that skill off as well as on. Now, the system is smart enough to recognize when it needs certain skills. So the better prompt that I put in initially when building the agent, it should identify that this could be a valid skill for this particular agent. But in this case, we added the skill after we built the agent. So let's go back in and add the skill. So this is the agent we built last time. I can click on the Edit button, which gives me the ability to quickly and easily access the Configure button. And this was a skill we modified. So now I can come in here and add personal skills or skills I personally created, and I can simply just select it. And now when I hit done, that agent is saved and I can prep all my meetings for the day, let's say, and we'll rerun this. And in this case, now we're going to get an output. Hopefully that output has clearly identified action items, but if it doesn't, it should have a caution flag with bold text, really bringing to the front and center the fact that I have some missing components of a good action item, which again is who is doing what and by when, right? We need to know, who owns the task, and then ultimately when are they going to get it done, right? So in this case, it found 2 meetings. It's going through the process of doing the research, of finding other previous meetings. It's finding information about the contacts, perhaps action items, and then there we go. The very first action item, you can see there's a concern here, right? So we might know that in this case, Josh is asking Paxton to be able to send something, and it looks like some details there. And we don't know when, right, from the July 20th meeting, but we don't know when he is going to send them. So we don't have a delivery date. So overall, the skill worked fantastic, very quickly and easily to create that skill and customize the way in which both tools and skills can be used inside of your agents on a day in, day out basis.